Top 10 Stupid Rules UK. Rules are important, even essential to keep a society calm and harmonious, but not all of them. Believe me, some rules are so stupid that you would think, who is the genius that created these rules? I mean, seriously, how can one make a rule about where to die? Hilarious, isn't it? Watch the video until the end, as there is an actual rule regarding the place to die. Call it a relic of history or foolishness. Some rules don't make sense. For instance, what if I tell you that you are doing something wrong if you don't know how to hold salmon? Not just this. Did you get permission before having your favorite chocolate? Don't tell me you didn't. Vivid verdictions, let's explore some fascinating yet dumb rules of the United Kingdom in this video. Here are our top 10 stupid rules UK implements that will sound extremely crazy to every average human ear. Not if you are from the UK. Obviously, who would know it better than you? Spoiler alert, you can end up Googling whether these rules are real. Heck yes, they are. Rule number 10. Never obstruct the Queen's Highway with a chicken. The United Kingdom is full of strange and peculiar rules, one of which is to keep the chickens in line and not let them forget their limits. All hail the Queen! It is widely implemented in the UK to keep animals and the public secure. The idea stems from old livestock management laws that kept the roads safe. Also, don't judge the Queen too quickly. The phrase Queen's Highway is not particularly associated with the Queen, but it represents the general public and the roads. The idea was to prevent animals from roaming freely and make the farmers answerable if that caused any accidents. But the question is, why always chickening out the innocent chicken? It doesn't make sense, right? Some rules don't either. Moving forward to the next rule that no one can consider meaningful, but to some extent only. Rule number 9. Do not enter a taxi if you are plagued. The deadly bubonic plague, which struck in the dark of the 17th century, was the reason behind the creation of this rule. Although it is not a strict rule today, it was a preventative measure to avoid spreading contagious diseases. However, although the rule is still there, it isn't followed much. I mean, just imagine you stopped a cab and the driver asked for your medical reports and then refused to take you to the destination if you didn't have one. Strange, right? The more bizarre thing is that even Gen Z can relate to these terrible memories after experiencing COVID-19. But things are a little better now due to vaccines and other medications. So, unless you plan to time travel back to the 1600s, you're safe to hail a cab, even if you're under the weather. Rule number 8. No chocolates in public transport without permission. This one is a little too much sexist rule by British history. Imagine you are in the 15th or 16th century and you see a lady having her favorite chocolate on the bus with no intentions of harming anyone. All she wants is to enjoy the chocolatey and nutty flavors. She unwraps the chocolate and is about to have it, and suddenly you hear a muscular man with a fully grown mustache and a snack in one hand shouting at her not to eat in public and to be civil. Humiliating, right? Heck yes it is. The rule no longer exists, but it represents the terrible realities of how women were forced to act and live in a particular manner without considering their feelings. To all the modern-day women, especially those in Britain, don't forget to have chocolate whenever you get a chance to travel on a bus next time. No one will ask you for your chocolate license, though they might ask for a piece. Cheers! Rule number 7. Do not gamble in the library. Do not gamble in a library. Someone might be reading Wuthering Heights or Chaucer. Your dice rolls and card games can be really annoying to people there. Although it is already apparent that the library is not a place to gamble, the UK government had to enforce this as law. The real reason behind the rule is unclear, but the librarians may have been suspicious due to the unnaturally large crowd sitting in libraries. Imagine asking the person next to you holding one of the books from your favorite Harry Potter series about the house they belong to, and they give you their actual address instead of any of the HP houses. If you are a Potterhead, you can feel the pain of the librarians, and you must understand why the rule was implemented. So, next time you visit a library, stick to borrowing books, not betting your lunch money. And if you see someone dealing cards near the reference desk, remind them, in this quiet haven, the house doesn't just win, it enforces the law. Rule number 6. If policemen are confiscating your toilet, let them. This one is really interesting. Suppose you live in Scotland and hear a knock on your door. You go outside and a police officer asks you where the toilet in your home is, and you refuse to let him do the business. Comedy gold. You are under arrest for refusing the officer. You heard it right. It is illegal in Scotland to say no to the policeman asking for the toilet to relieve themselves. The law was designed to facilitate the policemen doing long hours duties, but it was undoubtedly inconvenient for the people whose toilets could become government facilities without their consent. The rule isn't followed now and seems to be revoked. Although funny, the rule is entirely logical in its intent. So, if you're ever in Scotland and hear a knock at the door, be prepared. Your toilet may just be recruited for the greater good. Rule number 5. Don't be drunk if you are in a pub. If not in a pub, where? You must be thinking that too. Under the Licensing Act of 1872, it is mentioned that drinking in a public place could lead to legal action that includes the offender leading to paying some fines for his or her behavior. But the question remains, if not a pub, where? It is like banning reading in libraries or banning football while playing soccer. The irony is obvious, but the idea was to keep things harmonious, as excessive drinking leads to chaos. The law isn't followed nowadays, and people too care, as they know that enjoying a little too much can result in legal action against them. So the next time you're downing a pint in a cozy British pub, take a moment to reflect on the irony. Just don't reflect too much, or you might end up breaking the law. Rule number 4. Hold the salmons correctly. Nobody knows what is the correct way to hold a salmon, but what we do know is that the Salmon Act of 1986, which makes it crystal clear that if you hold the salmon suspiciously, you are going to pay a fine or even get imprisoned. Not being too literal, the suspicious here refers to the illegal sales of the salmon. Obviously, what else could it be? Imagine going to jail just because you didn't care for the salmon correctly. So, next time you're handling fish, remember to keep your movements natural, avoid darting glances, and for the love of cod, don't be suspicious. Rule number 3. Shoot a Scotsman, but not on Sundays. In the medieval era, England and Scotland were arch rivals. In New York, it was technically legal to shoot a Scotsman with a bow and arrow, except on Sundays. The rule was intended to prevent Scottish invaders from entering specific areas. The No Sunday clause? It is likely a nod to the sanctity of the Sabbath, even in wartime. The rule no longer exists, and even if it did, who would carry a bow and arrow in today's world? Rule number 2. No topless women in Liverpool, unless they work in a fish store. Liverpool's liveliness and vibrancy cannot be ignored through its music, sports, and rules. However, in some cases, Liverpool is a little too much sexist. Women in Liverpool are not allowed to roam topless unless they are employed at a fish store. The main idea about the mysterious exception of the tropical fish stores is still unknown. Did a fish-loving feminist campaign for equality? Or did lawmakers simply decide that tropical fish deserve some special treatment? The rule is not actually implemented and followed, but it is present only in the books. But if you plan to visit Liverpool, maybe stick to wearing a shirt unless you're starting your shift at the local aquarium. Rule number 1. Do not die in the Parliament House. Lastly, you cannot die in exploring the House of Parliament. Why? It is illegal. The Parliament House is a royal place, more like a palace, and you are not supposed to die there. That way, you will be entitled to get the state funeral with all the luxuries and honors. Fancy, right? Don't even think about dying at such a revered place, as it may cost you, well, absolutely nothing, as you are already dead. However, the lawmakers made it illegal to avoid the hassle of going through grand arrangements for someone ordinary and not prestigious enough to get a state funeral. So, if you're visiting Parliament and feel unwell, it's best to head for the exit. No one wants to be remembered for breaking the last law of their life. If you found this amusing, make sure to click the like button, share it with your friend, and subscribe to our channel to get more such mind-boggling videos.